Madam President, reserving the right to object.
Senator from Alabama.
Madam President, I want to start out by mentioning the great respect I have for Senator Reid. I'm deeply grateful for the chairman's service to this country, both his service in uniform and as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, which I am a member. I believe the chairman and I agree on a lot, more than we disagree on. But I take exception to several things that have been said about me by Democratic members of this Senate. Every day this week, the Majority Leader has come to the floor and attacked me by name. It's not very often the Majority Leader of the Senate attacks a senator by name 3 days in a row. Now, my former profession, I've been called everything, so it really doesn't bother me too much. But Majority Leader has also tweeted about me. That's good. So let's get the record straight as we speak. Right now, I want to talk about what I've done and what I'm doing. First of all, I'm not blocking anyone from being confirmed or promoted. Every single one of these nominees can receive a vote if Senator Schumer wants it. In fact, one of the civilian nominees is getting voted on this week. If Democrats are so worried about these nominations, let's vote. If we're not going to vote on taxpayer-funded abortion, then let's vote on these nominees. Voting is our job. It's not much to ask of the United States Senate to do our job to vote. Senator Schumer and some of the other senators have claimed that my hold on these nominees is unprecedented. Well, it's not. My hold is far from unprecedented. In fact, Senator Bennett himself threatened to do this exact same thing just a few months ago. Why? Because the Air Force planned to move Space Command from Colorado to Huntsville, Alabama. We've talked about this recently. 2 years ago, we had a senator from Illinois put a hold on 1,000 nominees over the promotion of one single officer. So far, my hold has affected 184 nominations. Also note that these senators haven't said a word about our recruiting crisis that we have going on as we speak. Democrats are in a panic about 184 promotions for generals and officers, yet I have not heard a word from them about the 15,000 enlisted soldiers we're missing right now from last year's recruiting class. That's an entire division. There's another 8,600 who were discharged over the president's vaccine mandate, kicked out. I don't hear a word about that from the Democrats. The military is down 23,000 enlisted soldiers due to the actions taken by the Biden administration and his Secretary of Defense just this past year. Yet Democrats are worried about 184 generals getting their promotion. Only one of those things threatens our security. It's not officer promotion. When my dad was serving in World War II, we had one general for every 6,000 enlisted soldiers. One. Today we got one general for every 1,500. We do not suffer from a lack of generals in this country. We suffer from a lack of recruits. Military experts have known for a long time that the Pentagon is top-heavy. This entire line of attack on me is absolutely false. The generals' jobs are being done. Yet 23,000 enlisted troops that we are missing, their jobs are not being done. My Democrat friends keep saying abortion is necessary for readiness, but I have yet to hear a shred of evidence to back that up. I've been asking for months. Yet again, my Democrat friends have absolutely zero evidence to show abortion makes our troops safer, stronger, or more lethal. And let's be clear about what we're talking about. We're not talking about access to abortion. We're talking about taxpayers funding for travel and extra paid time to get elective abortions. We already have a policy. We already have a policy in the Army about abortions, and it's worked fine. But this policy includes spouses and dependents. We're talking about taxpayer funding for somebody's kids to get an abortion in another state. This has never been in the policy until now, because Congress has ensured that the Pentagon cannot perform or facilitate abortions except in legal circumstances and limited. This morning, I received an email from a soldier's mom in Alabama. She said her son has had to pay thousands of dollars out of his own pocket to buy uniforms and bed sheets. She said it is absurd to force taxpayers to pay for travel for abortions while our troops are paying out of pocket for their uniforms. She's right. She's exactly right. And that's what this is all about. Earlier today, Senator Schumer said this is about women making their own choices. That's not true. That is exactly not true. This is about taxpayer funded. That's what we're talking about. We have strict limits on taxpayer funding for abortion in this country. That's gone through this building right here. These have been bipartisan consensus for 40 years. Yet all of a sudden, Democrats are saying military can't win wars without expanding abortion. It doesn't make sense. Frankly, we have already have policies for abortion in the military. Over the last 5 years, there have been about 20 abortions a year performed in the military. These have been in cases of rape, incest, and threat to the life of the mom. Over the 40 years, I don't recall the military ever once complaining that we weren't performing enough abortions. Not one time have I heard that. Not one time. According to one report cited by the Pentagon officials to my staff, the new policy would expand taxpayer-funded abortions from 20 abortions a year to 4,000. 4,000. And who's going to pay for that? People in this country are going to pay for it. This goes beyond the law without anybody taking a vote here in this building. We were elected to pass laws. We were elected to do our job. The Department of Defense wasn't elected. They were appointed. In fact, this contradicts what Congress has actually voted for. This includes some of the people complaining the loudest. Earlier this week, 37 Democratic senators went on record in asking for the Department of Defense to go beyond the laws that they themselves have voted for. Now, in fairness, I would note that the chairman and Senator Schumer were not on that list of 37 senators. But the idea that more abortions make our troops safer and more lethal is absurd. This has been a coordinated campaign to pressure me to lift these holds. That doesn't bother me one bit, and it's not going to work. Frankly, it's just going to make me do the opposite. I'm glad the majority leader has taken notes on these holds. If Democrats want to expand taxpayer funding for abortion, then let's vote on it. I'm ready to vote on it. The majority leader, the last time I looked, controls this floor. He can make it happen. And if these nominees are so important, then we can vote on them too. So far this year, the Senate has already taken 24 days off. This is in addition to 2 weeks recess in January, and the 2 weeks recess which starts at the end of this week. I've only been here for 2 years, but I'm told this is one of the slowest years in memory around here. I don't have anything to compare it to. Sometimes we don't even vote until 5:30 on a Tuesday. People back home don't work those kind of hours, but they're expected to pay for what we're talking about. Yet the Democrats are in a panic over the idea of taking more votes. I don't mind working a full week. I worked all my life. I've had a full-time job. I'll stay here until hell freezes over. I'm not going to be intimidated by a campaign of selective outrage. And let me remind the chairman, I gave the Pentagon fair warning. I gave them fair warning. They chose to go forward with this policy. Madam President, I'd like to enter into the record this letter I sent to Secretary Austin on December the 9th, 2022.
Without objection.
Thank you. You know, I didn't want to do this, and I told the Department of Defense that. I told the people that were in charge of all the nominations, this was the Biden administration's choice, and I'm going to keep my word. And because of that, I object.